Hi, my name's Chef Robert Sevely, and this is Flavor of Riverside. Today, we're going to be doing tamales. So we have the maseca, or the masa flour, and then what you would add is some sort of fat. I have some Crisco here that I have, and if you're making vegetarian tamales, this is what you're going to want to use. But you can use lard or something like that as well. I've heard of bacon fat. I've even heard of some butter. There's lots and lots of different recipes that you can get on the internet or in different books. And then you need some sort of baking powder, okay? So these three things are gonna end up making your tamale dough. Then of course we have the corn husks, which we've already mentioned. And these are dried corn husks. You can use fresh corn husks. You need a lot of corn in order to do that. And so you can buy this, everything that I'm showing today, you can buy right in your local Mexican market. So what I have on my stove is I have a pot of really hot water, almost to the boil. We'll kind of bring it back to a boil as well. But mostly you just want hot water. And then we want to break these apart so they can reconstitute. And that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to take these and just get these into the pot. The other thing by using boiling water is if there's any mold or anything like that on them, which, these are done out in the cornfields, you can get rid of that. So essentially what you're doing is you're sanitizing your corn husks as well as reconstituting them. And so I like to leave these in here. Some people will take boiling water and pour them over the top of the corn husks. I like to put them into a pot, bring it to a boil, shut it off, and then let them sit for a bit, and then I can start utilizing them. It's really up to you. Back to the sanitation part, if I bring it to a boil, I know they're sanitized versus pouring the hot water over the top. And so that's just me. So we'll take these, we'll set these, aside, and we'll come back to them later. I do have some that are already reconstituted. And so this is what they look like. They don't change in appearance very much once they're done, but they're more pliable. They don't tear as easy, and they're ready to go. And you can see how fibrous they are and how kind of ready to rock and roll they are, okay, to start making tamales. So let me get this other stuff cleared out of the way, and let's show you the masa itself. So what I like to do instead of making my own from the instant is, and if you don't mind the lard, is I go to the Mexican markets and I actually purchase the big bags of tamale masa. And you need to make sure that it says 4 tamales on it versus 4 tortillas, because it's a little bit different process. The tortilla masa doesn't have the fat in it and doesn't have the baking powder in it. So it's a different consistency. This stuff's nice and stiff, which is the way I like it. I'm not a big fan of it being more slightly liquefied or just more liquid in the batter. But you can see it's almost like Play-Doh. So you can see this is good to go. It's already been salted as well, and so it tastes good. It's ready to rock. So I'll set this aside. I'll set all this stuff aside. And what we want to start doing is talking about our fillings, okay? So we can fill tamales with just about anything. And we're going to do a pork tamale right now. And so this is carnitas, all right, which basically is pork cooked in its own juices or its own fat. And it's cooked so long to where it just sort of will shred apart. You can literally cut it with a spoon. Now you can do this yourself, and or you can buy it at the Mexican markets, which I chose to do. Later in the show, we're going to show you how to cook these tamales in pressure cookers. And I don't want to make this into a pressure cooker class, even though we're going to learn a little bit about a pressure cooker. But we have the pressure cookers here. I can do the carnitas in the pressure cooker as well. And so in a pressure cooker, the carnitas will take roughly about 45 minutes, to where if you do them in your oven, it's literally going to take 3, 4, possibly even 5 hours, depending on if it's bone in or not bone in, all that stuff. And so really to make it easy on yourself, you can buy everything that I'm doing today at the Mexican market, take it home and make it yourself, and you can make them to your own specification. And that's what I like to do. Okay. And so my corn husks, they're at a boil. And so I'm just going to shut it off. I can just hear them popping here. So make sure that I push it down a couple of times and I rotate it and all that good stuff. Okay. All right, to the carnitas. What I did is I went through and I shredded it pretty good. You know, it's cold, and I want to use it cold. I don't want it hot or anything. And then I made some salsa verde here. And so what's in here is some roasted tomatillos, some roasted poblanos or pasilla peppers, whatever you want to call them. So these guys. Some garlic, some onions, and some cilantro. And I blend it up in my blender after I've like either sauteed everything or I've like thrown it onto my barbecue at home and gotten a little char on them. And so you can see it's a really nice color. And so I'm going to add some of this in here. And you can make it as hot as you want. I do have some roasted jalapenos in here as well. And so that's an option. And I'm going to utilize this in my finished product. And I want to make sure that I don't contaminate the two, just in case I have vegetarians over or something. Plus, I might want to keep the sauce. But you can probably buy something similar to this at the Mexican market as well. And so I'm going to just get the pork moist is what I'm doing. I'm also going to add some chilies. So I have, once again, the green ones here are the roasted poblanos or pasillas, and the red is just roasted bell peppers. And I've roasted them on my barbecue and then cooled them down by, putting them in a bowl and wrapping it with saran wrap, or you can put them in a bag or what have you. But then I pull the skins off and just sort of julienne them up. And so we're just going to add a few of these as well. And then a little bit of salt, okay, and a little bit of pepper. Remember, season everything, okay? Really important, season everything. Make everything taste good so your end dish ends up tasting good. Extremely important. All right, so there's our filling for our first tamale. And I am extremely excited. So, all right. So now what we're going to do is we have our filling and our masa set off to the side of our cutting board. And then we're going to start building. So we'll bring our corn husks over. And we're going to lay these out. And what I want is like decent sized big triangles. Okay, so you can see that one's almost too small, but it should still be fine. And you'll need to peel them apart. Just like so. Let's get a better one than this one. And then you can also like double them up, like side by side. If they're too small, you can do something like this and still get a good roll. Really, really basic, okay? All right, so now I've seen a lot of tamales made, and probably like most, Mexicans that are making the tamales will tell you to spread the masa on. Personally, I like a lot of masa. And so what I like to do that I think it makes it easier too is I'll take like a ball of the masa about the size of the tamale, and then I'll just take it and smash it down onto the corn husk, okay? And then I make it kind of divoted. So grab some more here. And we're just going to go through. And this is where you can get the kids involved and other family members. And you can see I'm bringing it right to the edge here because this part's going to fold under once we get it all done. Okay. And you'll notice if you're making tamales with a bunch of different people that some are bigger than others, and they'll take on their own little shapes and sizes. But that's one of the things that makes it fun and homemade, you know? So I'll just sort of rattle through this. So that's ready to go. Now we're going to add the filling. I want to make sure I'm getting the peppers. So I'll go through and I'll spoon this on to each one. And here again, as much or as little as you would like. Make sure that they can be rolled up though. That's really important. You could end up putting too much in this and just not being able to get it rolled up. And then you got this huge mess. And so after I spoon it in, I'll make that determination. All right. So now, I'm going to turn these sideways, take my filling, okay? And if I have to, I can add a little more masa. If I'm like, that's not going to quite make it over, I can take a little bit more masa. Not a big deal. Just add it in there, like so. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it over. And I like to pull back and make sure that I'm getting a good seal, okay, like so. You can see that everything's encompassed. And then I'll take the whole thing. And I don't know, like, maybe you've experienced this. I have with tamales. To where when I go to unravel the tamale's like all through all these layers of the corn husks. And then you get these thin sheets of masa along with your tamale. And so that's why I like to like pull back and I make sure that it's all this nice cylinder. And then I'll take it and then just roll it up. And then I fold the back end and I just tap this down nicely. And you can even let some of the filling show so you know which ones are which, okay? And then I sort of line these up like that. And you see that I tuck the tail end under. So let's do this one. Hopefully I don't have to add more masa to each one of these. And I'll just roll this one up again. Notice I'm making a nice seam. And the point is there's no wrong way to do this. Don't be afraid to try this stuff at home. This is a lot of fun. It's fun for the whole family, you know. It's easy to do, especially that you bought all this stuff at the Mexican market. You know, this doesn't require a mixer or anything like that unless you are making your own dough. It doesn't require the oven being on for a long time or anything like that. It's really, really user friendly. Okay, there we go. All right, this one does need a bit more masa. Keep it roughly the consistent size here. So maybe I'll go back this way since that one's tearing. There again, not a big deal. Set down, fold that under. So I'm just going to spend time rolling these up. Okay, now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and get the pressure cooker going. So I'm going to bring over my pot here. And you'll notice I have a trivet down in the bottom. Okay, and all this is this gives me a little levitation above the water. And I have roughly about like 1/2 inch of water down in there. So the other thing that I like to do is I'll also take a few corn husks and also make a trivet and set these down inside of here, just a few of them. And so then I'll take my tamales. And if you want, you can stand them up. If you have enough, you can stand them up. These ones we're just going to lay down. But preferably, you're going to do a whole pot. And realize tamales freeze really well. They'll stay good for quite a while. They're great to give as gifts, or maybe you want to make them for a kid's party in a classroom, or, you know, families coming over and you get all the people together and you guys make tamales. So it's fun. Now, let's talk pressure cookers for a minute. So these pressure cookers, you can buy pressure cookers in lots of different stores, either in a William and Sonoma, or you can buy them at some of these other kitchen stores or cooking stores, okay? You can probably get them at a Walmart or something like that. I suggest, though, that you go and buy one at the local Mexican market that you live near. And hopefully they carry them. Some of the bigger ones, they will carry them. And where you want to look is look up high as you're going through the aisles and stuff, and you'll probably see a whole wall of pressure cookers. Buy one or two of them. They're usually going to range you, pressure cookers will range you anywhere from like $15, $20 on the low end, all the way up to like $150, depending on the size and the quality and stuff like that. But you don't have to be afraid of pressure cookers anymore. The main thing is on a pressure cooker, so you're not afraid of it, is you want to make sure that it has at least 3 safety devices, okay? So one would be where the steam comes out as it's cooking, and that's going to come out right here. And we're going to get this on the flame and keep talking about this. All right, so once where this is, where the pressure comes up, and this is going to allow to release steam. So on a lot of them are like rattle top pressure cookers. That would be where the rattle is, okay? And so that's going to allow it to lose pressure in itself. Then I have another one here, which is right in this area, which also is a pressure release. So that will pop if need be. And then the third one is here on the sides where you can see these areas. There's a cutout here and there's a cutout back on this side. And that's also where the gasket can pop. So as long as it has 3 different safety areas, you don't have to worry about the pressure cooker blowing up, so to speak. You're good to go. And it's just a container that allows a certain level of pressure to come up inside and cook. This one cooks at an 18 PSI. Most pressure cookers cook at like a 15 PSI, which means pounds per square inch. And, but it's all good. This is only gonna take right at 8 minutes. Okay, after it comes up to pressure, we're gonna set a timer for 8 minutes, and then the tamales are done. Now, the other way that you can cook them is in a nice big pot, like this one over here that we use to cook the corn husks in. You would still need some sort of steamer or pasta insert or something like that, and that roughly takes you right about 30 minutes. I mean, there again, you can look up lots of different recipes on the internet and stuff, and they'll tell you the cooking time on it, but it takes quite a bit longer. This is done quickly, 8 minutes. So that's one of the neat things about it. So now, let's move on to our next tamale. The next one that we're gonna do is gonna be a shredded chicken. So I'll be right back with my setup for that recipe, and we'll see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So back to now the chicken tamale is where we're going. We're still cooking the pork tamale, the carnitas tamale, with the salsa verde. And it's got about 5 more minutes. What I am gonna do is I'm going to transfer this to the sink once it's done. And that's gonna cool it off quickly. There's a couple of ways to cool these down. You can either just shut off the flame and let the pressure slowly go down, or I can move it to the sink and I can run cold water over the side, which will release the pressure really quickly. And so that's how I generally like to do it. I'm sort of a fast guy. I want it done now. And so I'll take it to the sink and I'll let the water run over it. But realize that lid will not come off of there unless I release the pressure, because I'm, cooking under pressure. And so it's got that lid, it's all locked in. So while that's going, let's do the chicken. Now, how do I do the chicken? So this is one of those whole roasted chickens that you get from the supermarket. You can get it from the Mexican market or your local market by your house or something like that. And I just bring it home, I let it cool down, I remove the skin, and then I just pick it. And I make sure that I go through and remove any bones. But you could do all white meat if that suits you, or however you want to do it. And then what I do is I break it into the pieces just like I did with the pork, in the pieces that are manageable. I don't want too big of pieces, and I don't want too small of pieces either. Okay, so then I made a salsa roja when I made the salsa verde. Roja means roasted. So this is a whole bunch of tomatoes and some red bell peppers, and I have some chipotle in here and some red onions and some other veggies, that just, green onions and stuff like that just make it taste really good. So this is a delicious salsa roja, and I'm gonna go over the top of the chicken with this. Totally vegetarian on the salsa roja and the salsa verde, just as long as I don't touch. And so if you're serving all of these that we're doing today, just as long as you don't contaminate, you're gonna be fine. All right, so now we have some corn. This is just fresh corn that I cut right off the cob, okay? And then I'm going to slice some green onions as well. Okay, so I'll take my knife, I'll bring these guys together, and we could do it on the bias, so I'll have the onions up and away from me. And we're just gonna go through and slice these up. Just be careful, go slow. You guys at home, make sure that in the middle of tamale making, you're not running to the hospital to get stitches, okay? No fun. So we'll take those green onions, set them aside. I'm gonna save some of these for garnish, and so I'm just gonna add a few of those to my chicken. I'm gonna save the other ones for later, okay? Okay, so now, just gonna mix this together. Remember, salt and pepper, okay, season everything. I like fresh cracked pepper as often as I can, to where I'm not using it pre-done. And if I want it a little bit wetter, I can. So this is just a nice mixture to go inside of our tamales. Nice and fresh. It's going to have the corn and the spiciness from the salsa and the freshness from the green onions. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. And then now we're going to take more of our husks, okay? And we're looking for the nice big ones, preferably. Going to lay these on our cutting board or our work surface. You can see how some of them are pretty small. And when we do the dessert tamale, these will actually help out. So I know that the timer's going off. My beautiful wife is flagging me down that the timer's going off. And so we're going to pull the tamales off of here. And so this has been going for 8 minutes at full pressure. And you can see that it's kind of fun. I always like to spook people by, you can see how that, if it goes too much pressure, it starts releasing pressure. And so I know when it's up to pressure because it will slightly hiss. And so I'll move this to my sink and I'll run some cold water over the top of it and it's done releasing. So let's check out our tamales. Now that the pressure's been released and we can open this up. Oh man, look at those. So they're really hot. My hands are a little desensitized, so I can pull these up and you can see it's nice and stiff. Those are ready to go. Those are beautiful. So we want them to like cool down so we can handle them. And obviously we can reheat them too. We can slightly steam them again if we wanted to get them to this point and then cool them down and save them for a party for tomorrow or something like that. That'd be fine too. And so we'll set this aside, we'll leave the lid off, and then we'll come back to our chicken. So for the chicken, we need to get our corn husks out. And so realize that some of these will be big, and if you needed to make them smaller, they will just tear lengthwise. And so we don't really need to do that. Or if you want to do the strips with the ties, which we'll probably do later. And so we're going to do 6 of these again. Okay. So now we'll take balls of our masa. And I'm just going to place them in the center, each one. Like I said, there's no wrong way to do this, okay? Depends on how much masa you want, how little masa you want. So now, I'm going to take these and flatten them out right in the center. I have actually a little bowl of water here that sometimes helps, that keeps the masa from sticking to you. All right. So all right. So now that I have those all the way out, I'll take my chicken, make sure I'm getting all the good stuff in there. Fill each one of these. And you can see it's a real production line. And you know, you could kind of come up with your own secret recipes. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the different types of tamales you can do, let alone messing with the masa as well. But you can put, like, traditionally, like raisins or some other kind of dried fruit would be good in these. We can do beef. I've done carne asada tamales before. Something that's actually traditional that you hardly ever see is a seafood tamale. Okay, I've actually never had a seafood tamale, but in my research of researching tamales, they were very common in the beginning of tamales. And so, I don't know, you know, shrimp inside of a tamale or some sort of scallops or crab or something like that might be interesting, you know. Can definitely try that at home. Okay. So now that I have them all rolled up, here's another important fact about pressure cookers in itself is, so it doesn't matter the size of the pressure cooker. Since it's under a PSI, a pounds per square inch, just as long as I don't overfill it, that's the important thing. So I can do this pressure cooker filled with tamales, or I could do one tamale. because it's pounds per square inch. And so it's one of the great things about pressure cookers. So I have my trivet in here again, and I have a little bit of water. Take a few corn husks and lay them along the bottom just to keep elevation and keep water off the tamales itself. I'm gonna lay these in here. Like so. Put the lid on. And turn on the flame. All right, so that will come up to pressure. And once that comes up to pressure, we're gonna set a timer for 8 minutes and we're gonna keep going. All right, let's plate up the pork tamales. So let me grab a plate. You know, anything works. We'll grab a couple of the pork tamales, okay, like so, just randomly off the top. And I'm gonna open these up. And see, I like to personally serve them without the corn husks. That's just me, especially if I'm gonna plate up, because otherwise you got this entire thing on your plate. And you can see how nice they look. Nice and firm and fully cooked. The pork's in there. It's going to be juicy and hot and just beautiful. So I'll put a couple of these like so on there. Take some of my salsa verde. And I'm just going to spoon this over the top like so. Maybe a couple of little drips around. And then a little bit of those roasted chilies. Okay. Right on top of the center here. So we get some real color on there. And then you can serve this with like some tapatio, some extra cilantro, some crema, what have you. And so those are our homemade pork salsa verde tamales. All right? All right, so I can hear the pressure cooker going over here. It's starting to come up to pressure. Next, we're gonna go on the vegetarian tamale, and it's gonna have some cheese in it. It's gonna be delicious. So we'll be right back with that setup, all right? All right, so now to continue with our tamale festival, we can call it, we're gonna make our vegetarian tamale. Now, I am gonna put cheese in it. So if you're vegan, all you have to do is omit the cheese. Make sure that you're making your own masa, or you can find recipes out there for it using the Crisco or the vegetable shortening. Or, you know, just you'll be able to figure it out from there. So one of the things that I like to do is actually flavor the masa. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I have my masa, I'm gonna add some cheddar cheese to it, okay? Now, I'm also gonna add some cilantro. You can add green onions. You can use any kind of cheese you want. But the other thing that you can do is like some sort of spice. You can add paprika, you can do, you know, some sort of chili powder or something like that, or even spicy, some cayenne or something. I've done corn, you know, and then later with the dessert tamale, some of them have used like pineapple, or you can even like, instead of just straight water, you can grind actual fresh corn into the masa itself, stuff like that. So, gonna add the cilantro here. Let me clean myself up a minute. Okay, so now I just get my hands into here and I'm just mixing the cheese and the cilantro into the masa. This makes it really interesting. You do have to be careful a little bit with the cheese. Wants to stick to the corn husk a little bit, but not a big deal. It eats beautifully. It gives a dimension to the masa that you're not used to having with a traditional tamale. Okay, so now I could make straight cheese tamales with this too, which I have some other cheeses. So we have that mixed. We'll set that aside. Now, the veggie mixture that I'm using is corn, caramelized onions, some summer squash, and some chayote squash, which is a type of Mexican squash itself. So this is the chayote squash. It's very tasty. I suggest you try it, regardless if you try this recipe or not. So now, let me wash my hands a second. And while I was washing my hands, I grabbed our pressure cooker that on our break, we went ahead and we cooked off, we finished cooking off the chicken tamales. So you can see here, masa's nice and firm, ready to rock and roll. So, all right. The veggie filling, make sure it has quite a bit of salt and pepper on it and that it tastes good. So make sure that you're tasting it. So next, we'll pull out our corn husks. Cilantro all over the place. And we're going to do 6 more again. Notice how I'm like also doing it with the curve side up. Okay, so it's like, so it's holding, so it's a little bit of a boat. So just keep that all in mind. All right, then I'm going to take the masa and once again kind of ball it up. All right. One more. All right, and then we're just going to flatten these out. Flatten this out. This one I think I like even a little more masa than normal because we flavored the masa so nicely. Okay. Then I have queso fresco here. You can buy queso fresco in just about every market, let alone all your Mexican markets. And so it's a fresh cheese. It's a little bit salty, but it's similar to the texture of like fresh mozzarella. So we're going to put a piece of this in the center of each one. Like so. Then we're going to grab our vegetable mixture. Put some of this in the center of each one. All right, and we want this vegetable mixture to be cold. Really important that it's cold and not warming up the masa as we try to roll these up. It's essential because as the masa heats up before it starts cooking, it gets kind of more fluid and more sticky. So, and I didn't mention that earlier. It's important. Like when you buy the masa from the grocery store, from your Mexican market, it's going to be either slightly warm or at room temperature, even though they have it like in refrigerated areas. you don't want to try to use this highly refrigerated. You want it room temperature, because when it's refrigerated, it's really, really stiff and it's difficult to work with. And so I believe that they refrigerate it because they're told to by the health department, even though they stick it in there warm. It's still just one of those things that they kind of have to abide by, even though that's not how you use it. So there's one. You can see these are a little bit bigger. They will still only take the 8 minutes in the pressure cooker. It's really tough to overcook tamales. So if you want to go 10 minutes in the pressure cooker, but remember, if you're steaming these in a regular steamer with some sort of pasta insert, it's right about 30 minutes, give or take. And one of the ways that you can test, and we can pull one of these guys out, is I can take a instant read thermometer and I can stick an instant read thermometer down through the center of these. And we want that instant read thermometer to come to 160 degrees. So 160, we know that the tamale is fully cooked. You're not going to end up with a raw tamale or anything like that. Okay? All right, so keep sealing these up. Okay, now that we have it like so, we're going to take our pressure cooker. I have the trivet, I have the corn husk down in there, a little bit of water, just like we've done. I'm going to line these up in here. Okay, we'll put this on top. We'll get this started on a high flame, and we'll just let it go. So meanwhile, while we're letting that come up, let's go ahead and let's plate up one of the chicken, okay? So I'm gonna bring another nice plate over. We're gonna grab 2 of the chicken tamales, and we'll unwrap them. And I'm pretty gentle with them at this point. You can see nice and full. The other thing is, I'm showing part of my eating true colors here, but one of my favorite places to get tamales is with Tommy Burgers. And so you guys can put chili and cheese over the top of these if you'd like as well. I think it's delicious. I'm going to put the chicken ones on the plate, like so. Okay, and then we're going to grab the salsa roja and go over the top with that and see how delicious that looks. A little bit around the side. Then we're going to go with a little bit of crema. So this is Mexican sour cream. You can use regular cream if you want. And we'll kind of whoosh this across like that. We'll do a bit of green onions. And there you have your chicken tamales. Okay, now we're back, and our vegetarian tamales have been done. I've released the pressure on them, so they're ready to go. We're just keeping them hot here for a minute, but we want to get started on our chocolate tamale. So the sweet tamale that we are doing is chocolate, but we're gonna season the masa to begin with. So I have some dark brown sugar here. It's right about 2/3 of a cup, And this is roughly about 5 to 6 cups of the masa. And you can make it as sweet or not as sweet as you want. So we're going to put that over the top. We're going to add right about roughly like a tablespoon of cinnamon, okay? So just the brown sugar and the cinnamon, and we're going to get this well mixed together, okay? Just sort of knead it all in. And it turns it just ever so slightly on the brown side. Now this is a tamale, like I said earlier, that my wife made up. So it's a brown sugar and cinnamon masa. And then we're going to do chocolate and marshmallows on the inside. And then we're going to put a ganache, a chocolate ganache that's made with Ibera chocolate. And so Tacy, she's over there smiling at me. I'm going to bring her on camera to help me roll these up in a minute. And so now that I have this here, okay, now that I have this ready to go, let's set it aside. And let's go ahead and let's plate up our veggie, okay? So I'm gonna grab a plate. And then I have the veggie tamales here. We'll pull one of these out. Now they are substantially softer, but sticking the thermometer in them will be perfect to make sure that they're done. Because of the cheese is more liquid, it doesn't feel as firm as all the other tamales are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of different sauces. So I'm going to go with our salsa roja here. I'm going to go with our salsa verde here. Okay. Then I'm going to unwrap. You can see that looks awesome. We're going to set it across in the sauces. Then what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of that filling, just go over the top like so. So they know what the surprise is inside. You can also go with a little bit of crema if you would like. And then a little bit of the queso fresco over the top. Let's clean up our plate. Sure it looks nice and pretty. And lastly, I made some pico de gallo, and we'll go with that on there. And just make it look nice and pretty right in the center. So there's our vegetarian tamale. So now we're going to go with the chocolate. I'll set this up in front of us. And at this point, I'm going to bring my wife up, my gorgeous wife, Tara Sevely. And hi, she's going to help me roll these chocolate tamales. So why don't you come on this other side of me? I'll get rid of these guys here. And we're going to pull up our husks. And she's done this a whole bunch of times already. So we're going to put these together.
Okay. So these are going to be a little smaller, right?
These are going to be a little bit smaller. Okay. And we're going to start with 4. She's going to do like a little ball right in the center here, like so. We're going to do this for each one. And we're going to make like a little divot, almost like a little boat in the center for all of these. And then we're going to take some really nice Belgium chocolate. We've tried this before with the Ibera chocolate, but it's really made for hot chocolate. It's kind of grainy. It didn't really work out for us for this, but it works really great for the sauce. It has cinnamon in it. So it's very classical Mexican. So a couple things of chocolate. Then we're going to do, Tara's going to put in some marshmallows. So you could also call this like the s'mores tamale as well. It's just fun. This is fun to do, and it tastes really good too. So now we're going to roll these up. We're going to make sure that we get them fully enclosed. So you can start like closing them up.
Okay.
Like so. And then from here, we're going to take them, and you can see how we got one going this way on the inside that's smaller than the big one on the outside. And we're just going to roll it up straight across like that. And then we're going to twist either end like so.
Want me to get these guys?
And then Tara's going to take ties, and this is one of the reasons why you kind of need help. Do this end first,
Okay.
please.
This one's short, but okay.
Okay, there's one, right?
Okay.
Good. And she's going to tie this end. Nice.
A little closer.
Yeah. Beautiful. And then to make them look pretty, what we do is we just take a pair of kitchen scissors or what have you, and we just snip either ends, and then you can snip the ties. So there's our little bundle. And you want to grab the platter of the tamales there. We're going to pull out our veggie tamales, get them onto our platter.
So,
There you go.
okay.
And then we're going to take our dessert tamales, get them into our pressure cooker. The lid on. The flame on. And we're excited for you to see this dessert tamale. And so we'll be right back in a few minutes. Okay, so we're back, and all of our chocolate tamales are done. And so I want to plate one up for you. And my wife's with me again, so Tara's with me. And so we're going to pull one of these guys out of here. You can see it held its shape nice, looks great. I like to use a knife to slice it open. So I'm just going to cut into the tamale like so. And then I'm going to flare it open just like a baked potato. And you can see how cool that looks. And so then from there, I want to make sure that I don't get any of the husk. Then from there, we're going to take our Ibera chocolate, which we took, this is my wife's favorite. So I took 2 of the blocks, which these come in like a package like this, and there's hockey pucks in there. So I took 2 of them and a little bit of cream, and we made a ganache. And so from here, we're just gonna fill this thing all kind of over the top like so. And then we're going to take a couple of the baby marshmallows and put those right on top as a little garnish that really signifies that it's a s'mores tamale. And so this is our dessert tamale. I think I want my wife to give it a try and see if I did good.
Let's see how
So
hot it is.
she's gonna get in there.
Okay.
That a girl.
It's so good.
Is it delicious?
Could taste the cinnamon.
Oh,
Really good. Really taste.
oh yeah.
It's good.
Really, really good. So, just to sort of recap, we have our pork tamale with the salsa verde and the bell peppers. We have our veggie tamale that has the squash and the queso fresco, and then the cheddar cheese and the cilantro and the masa. Then we have the chicken tamale that has the salsa roja over the top and the crema. And then we have the dessert tamale, which is like a s'mores tamale. We really love all of these. You can see we have a nice big plate of whatever we have left over. We'll be feeding our friends and family with this. We really love it. We hope you guys have a good winter season. Thank you from Flavors of Riverside. This is Chef Robert Sevely and Tara Sevely. Keep cooking.